Hey, Lance Egan here with Fly Fishing Skill Builder number 4. What often happens, especially this time of year, we go from conditions like this to yesterday it was storming, it was sleeting, it was raining, it was cloudy. Today it's bright sun. Yesterday I had risers everywhere. Today I haven't seen a riser yet. So when that happens, I have to kind of let the river dictate how I'm going to fish. Today what we're going to do is go through a few of the steps that I like to cover to try and help me map out how my day is going to go and find the best method to catch the most fish.
That's a big brown throw.
All right, one of the first things I like to do is get a water temperature. I've got my ancient fish pond thermometer here, old standby. They make a cooler one now that's digital that we have in the shop. What we're gonna do is first just see how cold this water is. This time of year, we can have midges, we can have blue wings, there can even be a few Mother's Day caddis starting to show up on warmer days, or there can be absolutely nothing. Today we've seen a few midges, we've seen a few blue wings. I have actually seen my first caddis of the year, of the Mother's Day caddis anyway of the year. And because I think the water is going to be quite cold, probably in the low 40s, I think the fish are going to be a little on the lethargic side, meaning they're likely to be mostly in the slower water. So we'll take a temp here real quick and see what that can tell us and what we can learn from that information. All right, good news. The water temperature is warmer than I thought. I expect it to be in the low 40s. It's actually hovering right around 50. So hopefully the fish will be a little more active than I anticipated, despite the fact that we're not seeing a lot of surface activity. That's probably just because of the bright sun. Let's take a little walk and just look at some of the water here. There's some really fast water behind us, probably too fast for this time of year. This definitely has some potential. That far side looks really good. And let's just wander upstream here as we go. This soft pillow on the inside here looks good. Nice recirculating eddy over there. Same here on the inside. Not seeing any fish in the shallows, but I'm sure that there are some in there. This fishery has quite a few fish per mile. That far side looks good too. A little surprised that there aren't any risers on that far bank over there. Nice and slow, got plenty of depth. Just kind of looking at the water, mapping out a short section here, seeing where we might want to target, and also watching for any telltale signs of what the fish are doing. A rise, maybe even spot a fish in the shallows, something like that. And if none of that happens, then we know they're going to be down deep and we got to hit them on the head with a streamer or a nymph. All right, next step, and I don't do this every time out, but if you're on new water especially, it might be helpful to take a sample of the water, do some seining. We actually did some seining on a previous outing, so let's check out what we found. All right, clearly the best way to sample the stream is with a traditional seine. However, in a pinch, if you have a net that has relatively fine mesh, obviously this won't work if you have really big holes in your net, but if you have a net like this Frabill here with relatively fine mesh, you can use it as a seine, kick some rocks, try and learn a little bit about the bugs that might live in your river. Look at that, 2 sculpin, 3 sculpin, and a green drake. All right, we've got some little midge larvae, some tiny mayflies, more tiny mayflies, another midge larva. So even though a lot of these, there's another mayfly, a lot of those would wash right through the net, they just get captured in here just enough that you can use it to find bugs that the fish might eat, including those sculpin. This is a black fly larva, a midge larva, midge larva. This is a net building caddis. And that's a worm, part of a worm that got cut in half probably when I was shuffling the rocks. Not a really big one, but here's a stonefly. It's a caddis. I saw some drakes. Did they all fall out? Okay, here we have a little stone. I'm actually not sure if that's a squala or a golden. I'm leaning towards squala. Could be either one. A green drake nymph, free living caddis here and there. What else do we have in there? Some tiny, tiny midge larvae. There's a little Baetis nymph, another little Baetis. There went the stonefly. With just a little bit of shallow mesh or narrow mesh, you can find quite a few of those bugs that live in your favorite river. All right, now that we've seen a few of the insects in the river, that can help guide our fly choices and help us pick the right fly to try and catch a few fish. Based on what we encountered here in the river, I chose to start with the nymph rod, so I tied on a couple of my favorites, Silver Bullet Baetis and the fabled Iron Lotus. So we're gonna try those. There are a few blue wings around. Unfortunately, not enough yet to get the fish up, which is why I went to the nymph rig, but we're gonna see if we can find a few fish on these nymphs, and then we can always adapt from there if conditions change. And there's a fish. I think this one took the silver bullet. Little brownie. Dead in the center of his mouth. All right, I missed one other in there, but this is one that ate the silver bullet. Beautiful little brownie. Small fish, but fun, and proved that we made a right choice. Just had to find some slower water. I fished the inside here in the riffly stuff, which in the summer I would expect to catch fish in. Right now, the water temp's maybe just a little cold still. Maybe on this inside where it's really soft and slow, but it's a little shallow. But once we got to that outside edge, that's where I found the fish. Waded back into position, see if I can find another on this edge. But while I'm doing that, I just want to talk real quick about some other things to consider. Obviously, if you're fishing, you've set up the nymph rig. If we start seeing fish rise, I would quickly either break this down or bring another rod with me. If I'm breaking this one down, obviously putting it away. Or the other option in this case, since I'm Euro nymphing, is just having a spare spool or another reel with a standard weight forward or double taper line, a standard leader. Then I could start covering the water with dry flies that way. The other thing that can be very effective is jigging streamers or stripping streamers. So you could adapt your tackle and bring, enough spools, lines, whatever rods that you might need to try and cover as many bases as possible during the day. And that will enable you to really, really cover any scenario that you might be thrown into based on what the fish are dictating. There's another one. Same spot, down deep. This one ate the other fly. So that proves that I have two good fly choices, two working options. First one ate the silver bullet Baetis. This one on the Iron Lotus. Both on little jig hooks. Both hooked right in the top lip, just like you expect a jig to be. All right, another little fish. Like I said, that one's on the Iron Lotus, so that proves that I picked a couple of workable flies. Not big fish, but fun to catch nonetheless. Hopefully you found these tips useful, put them to use on your water, and hopefully you can find ways to catch a few more fish on your next outing. If you want a little bit more information on some of these techniques, check out modernnymphingmasterclass.com. We go into much more depth. It's not just nymphing. It says Modern Nymphing Masterclass. There's dry fly fishing, dry dropper, streamer fishing, and nymph fishing all in that video. Check it out. There's a lot more in-depth tutelage on that website.